Y'all, we live in difficult times. There's war, political unrest, the pandemic, poverty, families being torn, communities ripped by gun violence and people dying every day, police, injustice. It's all bringing so much pain. But y'all, we can look inside our minds and we can understand who we are, become better, and do this thing like we've never done it before. But it all starts with our mental health, and I know we can do it. I believe in you because I believe in me, and I believe in us. Hello, and thank you for joining another episode of Therapy is Life, where thinking, feeling, and experiencing well-being is what we do. Today, I have with me Marius, Moji BK Watts, and me, your host and clinical therapist, Gerald McGee. I got the hoodie on today. It's green. Hopefully, we're going to get a little luck. We're celebrating Mental Health Awareness Month, and this is important. We're talking to brothers. Bruh, let's talk some feelings. We want to get into this thing around men and their emotions. You know, they say men are 4 times more likely to commit suicide. Men account for 90%, y'all. 90% of all violent crimes, either being the perpetrator or the victim. Men are responsible for about 85% of all domestic violence. It's scary to believe that women are safer with bears than they are with the men in their own house. You mean to tell me women are safer in the woods than they are in their own home? Why? Because men, we got some issues and we need to deal with them. Marius, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. Blessed to be here. Allergies a little bit, but the pollen, but everything else is good though. I feel good.
That's what's up.
I feel good.
You feeling good?
Yeah, I feel good. I do.
Mal G, how you feeling?
Man, blessed, man. Blessed and highly favored. I can't complain. Oldest daughter just graduated high school, so I feel like I did something right this year,
Yeah.
But no, all is well, man. Can't complain.
That's what's up. BK Watts.
Hey, man, we out here. I'm good. As a matter of fact, I'm great. I can't tell y'all why yet, but just know, you're going to find out soon.
Yes, sir.
Sound like you ready to bounce.
Nah, man. No. We good. We in a good space, as always. Shout out to lounges. Y'all know where we at, man. We down here getting this pod thing going. And as long as that's in motion and the family happy and healthy, the bills paid and ain't nobody hungry, I can never complain.
That's what's up. Listen, guys, I appreciate you being here. We want to have a discussion about feelings. I gave some statistics earlier and about men. And I think at the root of it, we have to start with looking at how we feel. Because I know we've been living for a long time and probably been being told by people that we shouldn't really talk about our feelings and our emotions. The problem with that is we internalize what we feel, and it leads to either a implosion or an explosion of things that are negative for ourselves and the people that we love. So, fellas, sisters, brothers, cousins, nephews, if you're out there, if you're listening, I want us to take some time to think about how we really feeling today. Because people will ask you how you feel, but we won't take time to really think about how we really feel. There's this term, we call it alexithymia. It is the inability to express, to be aware of your feelings and emotions. But eventually, no matter if we are aware or not, there's consequences for not dealing with the way we feel. So listen in. Our first question today, though, y'all, it's not going to be about what we can't feel. It's going to be about those things we like to feel. So I'm going to ask my guys here, what are some things men like to talk about? What are some things men like to talk about?
Hey, man, I feel like this is an age range question.
Go, hey.
Because, like, I know there was a point when I would get with my boys, and immediately it was, "What's up, dog? Where the women?" That was first thing first. But that was a certain age. It's not like that now. At 36, when I see my boys, that's not. You know what I mean? So that's why I guess that's what I mean when I say it's an age range question. It's like it depends on where those men are at in their life path. I don't want to say journey because I get so sick of hearing that every day on podcasts. But like where you at in your life and where your boys at is kind of what we talk about. So you got your age where everything is aggression and energy. It's probably sports. I mean, it probably come back around to sports too for the later side. But it's things like that. And it's gonna just depend on where y'all at. Right now, me and my boys, we for the most part we business owners. We talk business. We talk about what we got going on, our wins, our losses, but mostly the successes. You know what I mean? But we also can talk to each other about family too, because we got families now. Before, when we didn't have to talk about responsible things. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But those are things that we just naturally had conversations about at this age.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I would say, man, you know, so I'm a barber, man. I've been a barber for over 20 years. And so, you know, barbershop talk generally consists of, you know, sports, women, politics, somewhat, religion, somewhat. But those are like generally the four hierarchies, and kind of like somewhat business, somewhat work if they want to get into those type of conversations. But I would say across the board, you know, geographically, you know, economically, you know, wherever you at status wise, sports is usually the safest general conversation that we all have common ground to talk about. You know, if you a man and come in the shop, or if I, you know, come across you and we not talking about sports, music as well. You know, music and you know, pop culture type things. But sports usually be that number one. If it's like, if this was Family Feud and the number one answer would be on the board, I think it would be sports. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so for me and my boys, it's like we always talk about sports, music. So we constantly sending each other songs, regardless if it's new songs, old songs. And then I work in the sports field. So if I'm not talking to some of my guys, I'm talking to people I work with. So always constantly talking about sports. The next coming, talking about the young guys coming up. The NBA draft is right around the corner. So usually we're like talking about that, who we feel like might get drafted. But it's always centered around like sports and entertainment. If I'm talking to like my sister or anything like that, usually could be about like shows. Sometimes I talk about my boys about new shows that I'm watching. I just started watching this show on Netflix called Vikings. So one of my close friends just got me hip to it. He's like, man, you got to watch it. So sometimes it could venture off about shows, women as well, just naturally kind of could come up. But usually like the center of it is usually sports.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So, may I ask you this? Thank you for sharing that. So I hear sports, I hear women, I hear politics, I hear TV shows, I guess a little bit of movies. So I'm going to say a subject and tell me some of the feelings you experience when you're talking about these different subjects. All right, so I'm gonna say a few that you guys didn't say. I hear a lot of men talk about guns.
For your gun enthusiasts, yeah, and I know a couple of those for sure, and then to know enough to be able to have, you know what I'm saying, at least some moderate conversation. It come up. But yeah, like I see a couple of my brother. My brother is gun nut, and so is my father. And they'll sit down and they'd be like, yeah, you seen the new Glock? Like, oh yeah, and they just go back and forth. And I'd be like, okay, I don't really see the excitement level, but for sure. I mean, it happens. Not for me necessarily. It's strictly in the house just to, you know what I'm saying, keep somebody out the house if I need to, but it's not really like a, yo, look what I got.
Thing you gotta have.
Yeah.
What about cars?
Cars for sure. I can speak to the cars because I'm a car nut. I done had a lot of cars. I ain't gonna say the count, but over my days, man. But yeah, I think that's something like, and that starts from little boys. You know, like
Yeah.
girls, you know, they push Barbies and little Barbie dolls, but the boys get, you know, Hot Wheels and Tonka trucks and stuff like that. So I think that infatuation starts there, you know, how fast of a car you can get and or, you know, your rims and stuff like that. So sound systems and, you know, things of that nature. So I think that always has been something that men have kind of intrigued to because it kind of like has spoke to like status, you know, what type of car you drive and, you know, how fly of a whip and your ability to pick up women too could kind of be off of what type of car you drive. So I think that
old busted.
go, you ain't pulling up with the busted rims and, you know, car tinking down the street, man, and trying to pull up on a lady. You know, you want to come in with something fly. So I think that equates to, you know what I'm saying, that side too. So yeah,
Of course,
cars
if you were
definitely.
Barack Obama, you know, you got those mad skills. You was able to pull up in an old Datsun with a hole in the floor.
Oh, that's how you
And
pulled up on the
still-
shelf.
That's how he put up with
Hey, if you got a real one,
Yeah.
she gonna ride with you, whatever. You know.
Hey, I mean, look, he convinced all of us too. So, you know what I'm saying?
My
It's
fellow
game,
Americans.
You know? The game was strong. You know what I'm saying?
So, look, I think about cars too, man. That first car I had was my aunt gave it to me. It was in Atlanta, Georgia, in a swamp in her backyard. And so she calls me and says that you can have my car. She called it Suzuki. And so I'm so excited to go get the car, not knowing where it's at. So me and my dad get the tow thing. We ride all the way down there. I get to Atlanta. I see all the weeds and stuff built up around the car. It's all different colors and everything.
Crazy.
So we head to the back of the car, take it back to North Carolina. Throw your shirt off, right? And when we get it home, I'm looking at it. I'm so proud because I got a car. I'm telling people about it, and when they see the car, they ain't saying nothing. Because it's all like different colors, and it's bent up and everything.
It's like having an ugly baby.
Mm.
Like, oh, that outfit is precious.
Find the one thing you can compliment on it.
All you can say for real, look just like his daddy.
So we looking at the car, and so the first thing I'm at the junkyard. I'm getting a hood for it. I'm getting other parts. I'm getting a grill because the grill's all broken. I got a grill for it. To put it in perspective, it was a 1971 Ford Maverick. That's what it was.
Okay.
So if you ever seen those, right? The inside, the interior was still pretty put together pretty well, but the outside, it was all over the place, right? So I went to the junkyard, got all these pieces for it. Then I started sanding it down myself. And then we started working on the interior, the motor and stuff, the valve cover gaskets and all this kind of stuff. It was really cool because it was like a bonding experience for me and my dad. And I was learning about cars, all the different things, but it helped me get a foundation and awareness of cars that I've always had. Now, I got to admit, now I can't do really nothing to my cars. I'm kind of upset about that. I ain't got the tools for it.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, that foundation in cars, I love talking about them. In fast cars, I can have those conversations like all day. But anyway.
Man,
But no, you know what? It made me think about when you said like the connection to your father. Like that was like one of my earliest childhood memories about a bonding time with my father and his Monte Carlo. He had the A-track. You know, I'm sitting there passenger side, man. It was a two-door and just riding, listening to music, experiencing that type of atmosphere with Pops. I felt like that was like my earliest connection to like loving cars, you know. So that like bonding time with Pops, riding in the car, listening to music, you know what I mean? Like I think that connection came in there.
Bro, so like the tough part about it is listening to y'all talk about it is weird because I don't know. I don't know if it can't just be me. So I'm gonna start there. It can't just be me that like had something kind of forced on you when you was a kid so much that as soon as you ain't have to deal with it no more, it was like, oh yeah, I'm out of there.
Yeah.
I've been there.
That was cars for me. Because my father specifically is a mechanic.
Okay, so you had a
like,
different experience.
From birth, it was like
Overkill.
cars. And it was just like, fam, listen, I don't care. Like,
I'm gonna hop on the bus.
You feel me? I would do any. I don't even want to drive. I'm so sick of hearing about cars. Like it took a minute. Like I didn't even drive through my teenage years. I didn't even want to. And I realized just listening to y'all talking that it definitely could have been a bonding situation. Like it was for my little brother. He went to Ohio Technical College like my father did. He a mechanic now.
Okay.
That's their bonding point. Like I said, my other brother, the guns, that's their thing. They conspiracy heads think that zombies is coming. You know what I'm saying? But like for me, it was just like, no, bro. Like you want to come out here to the garage and like, no, you've been dragging me to the garage since birth. I don't want to go out there. I don't care about the gasket. I don't care about the catalytic converter. I'm not interested. Yeah. So like he and I don't have that thing. And since that's like his primary thing, we've never had another point of connection.
Gotcha.
And it's like, damn, I'm listening to y'all talk about these cars, and I'm like,
you know, interesting. It comes to a point. Anything done to excess becomes negative. Excess becomes negative. So we can do something can be positive, but anything we do too much becomes something that we're not interested in. Yeah. And so having that balance, we'll get more into that a little later. But when you said that, it made me think about it. So cars, you got anything you want to say on cars?
I'm not really too big on cars. I got a couple like cars that I like, which is like a dream car. And my dream car is like an RDR8. Okay. I love the RDR8. You know, so my uncle was like really big into cars. He knows how to work on cars. For me personally, I just like to keep my car clean. So like always washing it, vacuuming it out. You know, especially if you're going on a date and you picking her up, you got to make sure the inside of the car is clean. Like that was the first memory for me. My uncle, like, he used to always go to my uncle's house. He used to always be washing his car. And I'm like, you going to wash the paint off the car? He like, no, when you get older, you going to learn. So like for me, just keeping the car clean, keeping the maintenance up, I'm not really too deep or too big into cars, so.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
So if I can get that Mustang from John Wick, though.
Oh,
that's the one.
That Mustang, yeah.
That's the one.
Hey, but he took that personal.
He took it personal, yeah. I don't know if I want his.
I would have went on the street too if somebody took that Mustang from me. That's the only car that I ever have been like. The Mustang, my whole life has been like, that's the one car.
And it's funny because, you know, he lost his wife. He was obviously grieving that. She gave him the dog to help him go through his grieving process. They did what they did to the dog, and they, of course, they stole his car. And what?
Yeah.
The boogeyman woke up.
We got 4 bangers out of it.
Right.
Yeah. So, Asher, one more. What do you think is the thing for men and this dialogue about women? What do you think that's about? What's your thoughts on that? Because we like to talk about women.
I guess it would just depend on like kind of like what you said in the beginning, like where you at in your journey, or where you at in your situation. Some men like to talk about women in a bad way. Some like talk about women in a good way. I think it's all based on like experience. Like if you had bad experience with women, then you kind of naturally talk about them in a negative way, just due to your experiences. But I think it just depends on like the person, and it depends on like who you're around. So like one of my closest friends, he's about to be married for 2 years. Another one of my friends, he's getting married in August. So like when I'm talking to them, it's a little bit of different dialogue than opposed to me talking to someone else who's like single, and kind of like how we kind of go back and forth and, you know, conversate about it. So I guess it just depends on like the person or who you're talking to at the time. Would depend on like how you go about that situation and how you talk about women.
Gotcha.
I mean, me personally, I feel like, you know, I think women are God's most beautiful creation. Started, you know, so to talk about God's most beautiful, you know, creation is obvious. But I think in I don't even know if I want to say American culture, but just in general, I think the concept for men about women is connected to like another like status symbol, you know, like, you know, how many women you got or how cold your woman is, or, you know, whatever related to your woman is like a status symbol, you know, as well. You know, it's kind of like I relate it to like, Happy Days, Fonzarelli, you know, you want to be the coolest dude that all the girls like. You know what I mean? So it's like that's a part of what culture has kind of like connected to how important that man is, or how you know, I don't know, for lack of better words, just like how cool that guy is, you know,
Shaft.
led to how Shaft, in the 70s, Shaft had the ladies. The coolest guy always had the ladies. So I think that's always been connected to where men want to show their status symbol in a room full of men. Well, what your girls looking like? How many girls you got? Or when we was young, how many numbers you got today?
Check this out. Do you think a lot of brothers be lying though when they be talking about they status with women?
I think there's some lies that go in. You know what I'm saying?
You gotta have some embellishments.
Yeah, for sure.
So all right, so they'll lie about it.
Especially at a young age. Because there's the older you get, you kind of understand how it's a lot easier to really get and obtain women than it used to be when you were young. You know, I know, like when I was young, like, oh man, that girl, man, like I'm just so nervous to talk to her, and until you get to that point where you realize, oh, she's just waiting for you to talk to her. You know what I'm saying? Like if you talk to her, she'll probably, you know, give you her number. You know what I'm saying? Something like that, where I think it becomes less intimidating the older you get.
Gotcha. This next one I think is kind of tricky, but the subject I'm gonna bring up, money, career. I know for some men it's easy to talk about, others it is very difficult. But when it's easy to talk about, why is it easy to talk about?
I feel like it's easy. Really, man, it's just like when you talking to your boys, everything is supposed to just kind of, you know, be like a easy flow. Like I can talk to my boys and they'll be like, "Hey, bro, like I just had XYZ happen, bro, and I just cashed out X bands," and it's like, "Oh, bro, you cook it." I can also talk to like my best friend and be like, "Bro, I'm tapped," and it's like, "Bro, how does that happen?" And we could talk about, you know, all right, well, this is what's going on. And like I said, like me and my boys talk about those kind of things because, like I said, we running our own businesses. Like one of my guys, he a streamer, and he can be like, "Bro, look, I ain't been able to jump on the stream and just lock in the way I need to, so the money been funny over here." Or if the podcast client, so I got 16 to 18 shows that I'm producing every week, but if I got 7 shows that got to take a break because of this or financial or family emergencies, now my pocket is hit X amount away, you know what I mean? Or my guy that's a freelancer that does graphic design, he like, "Bro, listen, I haven't been able to pull in no new clients." So we have those conversations, and I mean, it's like at the same, on one hand, we can have those conversations and it just genuinely be like, "Bro, I'm just venting and just get it out." Because I have somebody, you know what I'm saying, like, bro, because I know I can just holler at my mans about it. And often it's just, we can just chop it. And we can both talk about what we got going on, what we going through. It might be a thing where it's like, "Hey, bro, look, I'm tapped out so bad, I need you to extend your boy the hand." And it might be vice versa. And we can have those conversations too, and it'd be cool because we understand this lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? Because it is a lifestyle. Like it's a gamble, it's a risk to do what we doing. You know what I mean? We don't have that guarantee of a paycheck on Friday like most of y'all. You know what I'm saying? So it get different. And I think that's the reason why me and a lot of my guys had those conversations, because we all kind of live in that same thing. So we have them way up highs, and sometimes it's inevitable to have them lows, and to be able to talk about it with your people who can relate to it is important.
Yeah. I think the money conversation, man, somewhat it surrounds around a certain level of false confidence, you know, that I feel like money brings to people. You know, I've had conversations with people where, you know, when their money is up and they got money, they kind of do their flaunting about it. You know, they'll let you know, like, "Hey, my money up, and, you know, I'm about to go on a trip to Dubai next week, or, you know, I just bought this new Mercedes Benz outside, come check it out," or, you know,
Right.
you know, showing the status with their clothes or something. And then on the other end, you know, when you don't have the money, you kind of a little bit more sheepish and a little bit more timid about, the things that you feel like you can say or do. So I think sometimes, and especially like say in the barbershop environment, the guy with the money and he's the one who everybody kind of reveres to. Like, oh man, such and such just came in, man. He balling, man. He just got the big house out in Sagamore Hills and just something like that. So it's a certain level of reverence and respect that guy gets in the room because they know he has the money. Mm-hmm. But I think, like I said a false sense because, in my experience, man, just of living, I realized, man, that doesn't equate to true happiness or joy like that. It be sometimes the people.
What you say?
Yeah, it don't equate to that because you can have that sometimes and then still be, sad or really insecure about other things. So you use the money to, bolster yourself up so that you feel like, you are a certain type of way where deep down inside you really got certain insecurities and you just using the money as, something to flaunt and make people look at you in a certain light.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll definitely second that. Just working in like the sports agency, sports management world, just being around a lot of like athletes, they can have the max contract and I'll be talking to them and they still feel like a sense of like emptiness or a sense of sadness. So I know for a fact like money does not bring you happiness or can't buy you happiness, as some people would say. So I think that just depending on like what your career setting is or depending on wherever you at, just try not to get like too high, too low. That's what I'm kind of like learning because there could be times where I got 5 clients. There could be times I got 1 client. So I think in my earlier years, in my earlier stages, like being around, I used to get so down, like when things wasn't going good. I would be so down about it. And I think a lot of times social media could play a part in that too, because it's like, if you like flying everywhere and like you posting that you here, you there, like it gives a facade that like you got all this money and you got all this joy, but like even sometimes with that, you can still feel empty inside. Yeah. And then there's sometimes where I might not post on social media really at all. And that's when I'm at my happiest or I'm at my most, I don't know, like peace. Yeah, mm-hmm. Most I'm at my peace. So I try to get away from that too. Like the whole, like how much money I got doesn't really define my happiness or where I'm at in my career doesn't define like who I am. Cause like what I do isn't who I am. That's just what I do. Right. So I'm trying to like learn through that too and navigate through that space. But some men, I think it goes back into like pride. So like some people just have that pride in them. And like us as men, I think we could just be prideful at times. So like when we don't have that status, it just makes us feel like we like fell in that life when it might just be a part of your journey and what you're going through at that time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This money thing, money is obviously important. And I hear what you guys are saying. Capitalism encourages us to want to push to have more. Obviously, capitalism, it is invested in the illusion that the more you have, the harder you work because it generates money for those that's in the capitalistic structure that will be more happy. The more things we have, we'll be happier. So we work, we get more, we get to this point and we realize, wait a minute, now I'm here. Okay, what's next? Work some more. Yeah. What's next? And you realize that all those things that you was trying to get, grass look green on the other side, is really not the thing that's going to make you happy. So I think in listening to you guys talk about money, it's important. Yeah, we got to have it, right? A man don't work, right? How he going to really eat? How he going to take care of his family? All those kind of things. But being able to balance that out with honest and truth, that being content, living a life without fear, sadness, or anger is probably more important than how much you have.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I enjoy the stuff that I got for sure. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I'm not moved by money though. It's like you got to have it because you got to pay bills. You got to have it because you got to eat. Yeah. You got to have it when you got people who depend on you. But beyond that, it is not a concern, I would say. It's just like, I know I have to have it, therefore I know I have to do things to make sure I got it. but I'm also not about to. I don't allow myself to work myself to the bone to try to say that I got some more. Because I'm not. I mean, like, you know what we do. We especially involved in like entertainment. People see the stuff that I do, the stuff that I post, and they just assume that I got everything. They assume that I got money. Like people I will go years and not hear from will hit me up and be like, "Hey, bro, no, I ain't talked to you since Barack was president, but you got $50 I can hold." And it's just like, why you assume that I got $50, bro? Like I don't got $50 that you can hold, stranger. But you know, it's a thing where it's like, I'm gonna make sure I got what I need, but once I got what I need and a little extra to make sure I'm all right for real, then I'm chilling. I'm enjoying my family. I'm enjoying the stuff that I do got. Like I said, I'm gonna sit in the man cave in front of that 85 and I'm gonna watch BS and I'm gonna be happy. You know what I'm saying? Because y'all out here like no sleep gang and all that, bro. You're not living. And you don't know when you up out of here. So if you check up out of here and you realize you ain't live, well, bro, you gonna wish you ain't take your ass to work nonstop.
Facts.
Gotcha. Man, that is so good. Let me ask y'all another question about things men like to talk about. Then we go move into the question of vulnerability. Sports. Why do you think we so into sports? We love to talk about sports so much. What is it about sports? As a therapist, I find myself even starting out some sessions in dialogue with people around sports. Why do you think we like to talk about sports so much?
I think it's the competitive nature. That's all it is. It's just our competitive nature and just wanting to. It's that feeling that we get of wanting to be the best, of being excited about experiencing something that is the best, wanting to be it or be involved with it to some degree. Like when we kids, we compete, we race. You know what I'm saying? We foot racing. He the fastest one on the block. Oh, he the coldest one on the court. He the whatever it is. Like you want to be that, and because it feels good to be that, and then we all eventually get to a point where we realize we're not going to be the one on the court, but I'm still interested in it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, what's happening? So it's that competitive nature that I feel like is just naturally in people in general, but even more so in men. And I think that's really what it is. So it's a common connectivity point where we, for the most part, can all, you know what I'm saying, get on the same wavelength. I don't watch most of the organized sports. For example, I'm not a basketball, football. I don't know nobody's stats. I don't know who kicked a field goal, the touchdown. I have no interest at all whatsoever. But contact sports though, I'm gonna watch boxing. I'm gonna watch MMA. You know what I mean? I'm gonna watch Muay Thai fights. I'm into those sports. Versus the game sports by comparison. So I got my boys I could sit down and talk to about that. So that's there. It's just a competitive thing.
Yeah, I agree with the root of it being the competitive nature in it, you know, and men kind of just naturally having that competitive edge in it. I think also there's a connecting piece to, because like I mentor youth too, and so a lot of youth, I ask them, you know, what they want to be when they grow up. A lot of them say athletes. I think a lot of them look to the athletes as role models, like when they don't necessarily have that physical role model, maybe even in the house. It's like, who am I looking at that I want to be like? Who can I see that I can see myself doing? So, for instance, I see a LeBron James, and I'm like, man, I like LeBron's. Yeah, I like LeBron's life, and I see what he doing. You know, I wish I could be athletic and strong like he is. So let me emulate and try to do the same thing. I know me growing up, I aspired to be an athlete, and Michael Jordan, you know, Bo Jackson, like these people I would look at. And I'm like, man, I want to be like that. And I would go out and I would emulate and try to do what they did, you know, try to be out there and, you know, how it is on the basketball court with your friends. You talking about I'm Kobe or, you know, I'm Iverson or, you know. So having that as like a role model of somebody that it's like, man, I see them. I like what they do. They're a champion. I want to be a champion. You know, that type of connection there is what I feel like too, the role model piece of it.
Yeah. And I think that was like the first time, like at least for me when I was like younger, when I bonded with people, regardless if it was at recess, like we just shooting hoops or playing flag football. I met a lot of my friends that I'm still like super close with to this day, like during like the Pee Wee days. So I think like us as men, like we just kind of just grew up in that sports world. And I connected with my grandpa, who's been a Browns fan since he was in his early 20s. And him having season tickets at the Browns game, like him taking me to those Browns games, remembering those moments, like remembering the rush you just get like in the stadium of everybody just yelling and screaming. Like I think those were my memories and I just always like stuck with it. And then now transitioning to working in sports, like sports is essentially like a part of a lot of percent of my life. Like every day I'm always watching a game or looking up at stats or watching film or going to games. Like normally I'm at like basketball games, I'm going to like 40 to 50 games a year.
That's
so
crazy.
like, yeah, so sports is kind of like just in me now. But when it comes to like me and my friends, we always like just argue like who we feel like is the best or who we feel like might win. And it kind of brings a still competitiveness out. Like you might love LeBron and I might love Jordan. So we just gonna argue to the death to who we think is the greatest.
And
but
I hate that discussion right there.
And it's like, it's just always about that. But it brings everybody together and to like, no matter what anybody went through, like you could have had a bad morning, you could have had a bad day. But like we all might go to my friend's house and watch the Browns game. And then for that couple hours, whatever was going on, maybe that night before, we could just let loose, eat, you know what I mean, and just chill out and watch the game. So I think that has that too as well.
That's what I was gonna speak to too. Off of he made me think about it, man. Like sports is one of the best escapes from your reality.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like
Good.
that's a lot of the times when I'm watching sports or times we have conversations about sports, is really to avoid talking about what's really going on in your life.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd rather talk about sports than talk about my bad relationship with my wife. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Or my toxic relationship with my kids. Whatever. And not saying that I have those, but I'm just saying.
Great examples,
Yeah.
though.
But I'm just saying.
You're talking
like,
to the universe.
To the universe is that's what sports is for a lot of people, man. It's the biggest distraction.
You know, so I believe I read somewhere where Caesar, one of the Roman Caesars, one of the motivations for building the Colosseum and having the Gallic gladiator fights was to be a distraction, to give people an escape so they could do what they needed to do to build more control
For sure.
of the people, control the mob, because sports provided an environment for escape.
Yeah.
That's why, hey, look, during COVID, man, when sports went down, I'm like, oh, man, this chaos is about to really hit.
Yeah.
I feel you. I feel
Chaos
you.
is about to really hit. We can't be distracted by sports right now. What we gonna do?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
See, that's unfortunate for y'all. I was at the house like, I was chilling, bro.
Podcast can I
Yeah,
create?
you know what I'm saying, bro? Listen. When I tell you, that's when podcasting went through the roof. Everybody was like, "Bro, we can't do nothing but get together in small groups and talk." And I'm like, "Huh? Look at all this equipment, bro." Like, so that's when it started for me. Like, y'all can't do nothing else but come holler at your boy.
Boy, BK Watts. But seriously,
No, that's a deep point that you made up about it, though. Because that's still going on to today.
yeah.
Do we realize, you know what I'm saying? We so distracted by sports and legislation and all types of stuff is going on
Don't matter.
that we ain't concerned about.
Hey, bro, the Browns won.
Yeah.
Cleveland is content. It don't matter.
As long as the Browns win.
Yeah.
So escapism is one of the, I think you all would agree, a lot of things we talk about, though, as men, is escaping our realities. Not talking about the things we really feel. Even we talking about money, even we talking about women, talking about cars, we talking about our guns. We probably have a lot of guns because we have a lot of insecurities.
Facts.
And it makes us feel strong or powerful. So boom. We talk about sports, because I don't really want to talk about my problems. So I can talk about sports. I can analyze all the issues with the Cavaliers and what they need to do. They got rid of the coach. What's next, right? Or what the Browns need to do. Or how about my Cowboys? We can talk about those things really easily. But when it comes to the idea of being vulnerable and really getting to the root of what's causing our problems, we struggle with that. So with that being said, I want to ask y'all this question. What does it mean to be vulnerable to you?
I would say being vulnerable is allowing yourself to expose the side of yourself that might be embarrassing, um, allowing yourself to maybe come off weak in moments, instead of just this constant need to appear strong. Those are the two things that come to mind for me. Just allowing yourself to be weak in conversation and allowing yourself to just be honest in conversation.
Yeah.
I think it's really just being open.
Yeah.
Just being open about, like you said, things that you feel like might make you weak, or things that you feel like you fear, or things that you're scared of, depending on the situation. But being vulnerable is just, to me, I think about it just being open. Just being open, and which is a tough thing to do, especially as a man. Yeah, I think that's what it is. For me, when I hear the word, I think about just being open.
Yeah, it's just it's taking off. It's taking off all the mask, the coverage, the facades. And like you said, being open to critique, being open to judgment, like to remove all of those, all the outer everything, to take off the exterior and say, all right, this is what it is. What you got, like that's essentially what that is.
So it's the idea when you're vulnerable, you bearing your inner self, and you allowing other people to see it. And there's insecurity that they may not receive it in the way you want to be seen.
Right.
Because this is how I want to be seen. I want to be seen as strong, but you might look at me and see weakness. You might look at me and see frailty. You might look at me and see somebody that you don't like. But being vulnerable also is a place that allows us to grow and get better. Because when we're vulnerable, we can actually get help.
Yeah.
I'm curious about it. Why do you think, we talked about this, but just a little deeper dive, it seems like a simple question, like it's already understood, but what is it about men that makes it more difficult for them to be vulnerable? Because we know women do a better job of expressing vulnerable feelings. What do you think is it about men that makes it more difficult for us to go to that space?
Well, I think for a lot of men, like you said, there is, and I would say more so in American culture, because globally I don't necessarily know if that's always the case, but in American culture, men have been put in a place where, strength, protection, being able to have a certain level of confidence in yourself is kind of like synonymous with being a strong, real man. And so I think to show anything outside of that, is signs of weakness and signs of not being a strong man. So I think, a lot of times it's hard for men to allow themselves to be seen in any other light outside of what the stereotype is, because you don't want to come off as, inadequate to be the status quo of what a stereotypical man should be. And I think it has just been something that's just synonymous with the culture. And so I think, it's been engraved in it so long that, a lot of people don't want to tear down those walls and allow themselves to be open and show emotions. And I think to be emotional is something that has been more so connected as a feminine trait, to be emotional, to show emotions, to allow yourself to be open like that. And in some aspects too, I can say I think it can be dangerous to show that side, because if you show too much in the wrong setting in a place where it might not be safe to show that, there are people who might try to take advantage of that. Like you said, you have guns out here rampant. So if I'm in a place and I've showed vulnerability or I show weak emotions, somebody might prey on that and try to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Bro, you know what's crazy? It's it just, bro, it's so nutty. Superheroes.
Oh, we gonna go there. Yeah, we
No,
gonna
no,
go
I'm
there.
saying, but superheroes just in this one perspective in that one spot, bro, is you got to keep your identity secret, because if people know who your loved ones are, they know your weaknesses. If you ain't got no external weaknesses that they can find, if they can find the ones that do have weaknesses around you that you care about, that exploit, it's the same thing. It's just our exterior, our confidence, your facade, whatever you portray to the people is your superpower. And if they don't know those inner vulnerabilities, they can't attack them. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Same thing with a superhero. If you don't know who I am behind this mask, you can't find my mama. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the same thing.
Yeah,
And I think also too, like just growing up, we was always taught like to not be vulnerable, to not be open. Like if you ride your bike, you fall off the bike, you better not cry.
Right.
You know, don't cry, don't show emotion. Or I remember when I did cry, you like, oh, you a big baby. So coming up, if that's all I'm taught, I can't show that side of me because I don't want to be viewed as, you know, weak or the big baby or whatever the case is, or like taught not to cry. So I think as we get older, we just always was taught like, don't be vulnerable, don't open up, because if you do that, like you are weak, you're not strong, you're not a man, you're not all these things that surround it, you know, that stigma that's around that. So I think it's just always just tough for men to be vulnerable. And then even if we want to be vulnerable, what does that even look like? You know, if we taught our whole life not to do it, and then we like, all right, I want to open up and I want to be vulnerable, I don't even know what that is, or I don't even know what it looks like, or what does that mean? So I think it's just so much to unpack to it, but I think it just starts at that younger age to always be taught, you know, not to cry. Or I remember like back in the day, like we used to play our rec league games and we used to lose. I used to cry. My mom was like, don't cry, you better not cry. Like, we just lost. I'm sad. Like, I wanted to win this game. And I was just taught, like, don't show that emotional side. Toughen up. Like, keep your head held high. And that's cool. But at the same time, like, if I'm hurt, I could be able to show that. So I think it just starts at a young age, too, though.
It definitely does. I ain't never seen my father, my uncles, I ain't never seen none of them cry.
Yeah.
Never. I've never seen none of them, like, emotional outside of anger. So I definitely never expressed none of that that way. I think there's something unhealthy to it for sure, but I also understand. I feel like you know, just with maturity, and I think emotional intelligence to it. Like, I feel what I'm feeling, and I experience whatever it is that I'm feeling. But what I don't do is I don't allow my emotions to control me or to consume me. So that's the side
deep.
of it that needs to be understood. It's not to not feel them, but it's not to allow them to control you. And I feel like maybe that older generation before us, that might have been their fear. Is that like, I'm gonna just lose it and not have control of myself behind this. I know if I'm mad, I'm mad, but I'm not about to go on a rampage. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm sad, but I'm not about to off myself. Like, I'm gonna experience it. I'm gonna find, you gotta find outlets. And that's a huge thing. People just don't find outlets. You gotta have some way to channel it, somewhere to focus it. And then that way you can feel what you need to. But like I said again, without letting it control or consume.
I like what he said though on the control emotion piece. Like, literally, if y'all look at my wristband, what does it say right there?
Control your emotions.
Control your emotions. I keep that on me at all times because I think it's okay for you to have emotions until you express them at adequate times, you know, but being able to control them is the piece. But the other thing I wanted to speak on, it related to going back to the conversation about the women piece, right? About, I feel like men are in a position where they feel like they have to be able to show this level of toughness because of not, letting your emotions get too irate, because women who desire men, they look for that protection piece for men. My wife and my daughters look for me to protect them.
Right.
I can't be the one when a mouse goes through the house. We can't all be screaming and running.
Right. We cannot all be standing on a chair.
We all can't be doing that.
Somebody got to do
Somebody
something.
has to be the one who's about to get them. And that's going to be my role. I'm going to be the one who has to go get that. So I have to have that fearless, even if inside I might still be just as scared as y'all. But I have to be the one who fearlessly goes and gets the mouse. So I think that's just our innate role as men, to still be that fearless one on the front line to protect and be on that side. So you have to be able to control your emotions, though.
So is there a difference between controlling emotions and not necessarily experiencing a particular emotion?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And that's the whole thing. Is like people try to like pretend that it ain't there. Like, man, I don't care. Nigga, yes you do. Like, you do, bro. Like, and you need to live in that, bro. You have to. It's just another one of these life experiences. You have to, and like I said, that's why people just need an outlet, bro. Like whatever it is, like I have found mine, and that's why I feel like I'm balanced the way I am, because I have them, and like that's why I try to encourage people all the time, bro. Like don't act like you're not experiencing something, bro. Experience it, but find a way to get your healthy outlet off. I might write. You ain't got to be a rapper, but writing. You know what I'm saying? You might want to just sit down and just write down those thoughts, write those feelings out. And then it's almost like, because you got to remember, it's like when you thinking something or you're saying something, there's the voice that you hearing that's thinking, and then there's also the other side of yourself that's listening to what it is that you thinking. You can have conversations with yourself right there in those moments.
Right.
Those, like I said, those outlets, those methods.
Right.
You have to experience what it is, because if you don't, that's when you bottling stuff up, and that's when you, like I said, either implode or explode.
So to your point, I was talking to some young men the other day, and we was talking about fear, and they were saying they didn't want to feel fear. I responded by saying it was brave to feel fear and to acknowledge it. A brave person is not brave. A person who has courage, they don't have courage because they lack fear. It's knowing that I am afraid, but yet I face it.
Face the fear.
Yeah.
I am afraid and I face it, because I think that frames it differently. I like to think of being a man like making this choice or somewhere in between. You can be a brick. You could be more like a brick, or you could be more like rubber. If you're more like brick, you hard. You tough. You are more like that person that's going to express anger and say, I'm keeping it real, but I ain't going to express that I'm sad or depressed. But I'm going to let you know that I'm angry. Oh, and now I'm keeping it real. Being rubbery means you're more flexible. You do respond or react to your environment. But if you take a piece of rubber and you take a piece of brick and you throw it from a high place or a far place,
the brick gonna break.
The brick gonna break, but the rubber is just gonna bounce.
Right. Yeah. But she's like, you know what I'm saying? You would think, because you look at the outside of the house and you like, see, you want to be made of bricks. No, bro. Like, no, not necessarily, because the brick got to be in a perfect condition to just be able to handle pressure. And the second that them conditions ain't perfect, like we said, it break.
It breaks.
You don't want to do that.
So having that ability, having that emotional flexibility to deal with situations, acknowledge it. I remember I used to say to my son, who had some issues with anger, sometimes I might want to respond to him with anger, but I realized that I was angry, and I would say to him, I'm angry, but I'm going to chill for a second because I don't want to act out in anger. So I'm going to wait, and then we're going to have this discussion. But what I was trying to do was role modeling to him some emotional control. You can be angry, but as they say, sin not.
Yeah. And that's why it's important that, like, just going back to, like, the escape. So, like, Gerald knows I'm a huge runner. Like, I'm running, 4 to 5 miles, you know what I mean? But that's my escape. So if I feel high anxiety or if I'm really, really emotional about something, just put my headphones in and I'll just go to the trail and I'll just run. And for that time that I'm out there, I'm just escaping for the world. And the problems are still there once I get done from my run. But for that, 30, 35 minutes or however long I'm out there running, I can just escape for a little bit. I can relax my body, relax my mind. And when I come back, I'm usually feeling a little bit better because I just got done running. Yeah. And then I can face whatever I was going through. So like how you were saying, like, yeah, like you're angry, but like let me sit down and let me just relax and collect my thoughts. And that's why I tell people, like, your feelings are valid. Like how you feel is valid. And you can always express how you feel, but this is the way you go about it.
Yeah.
So just going about things the right way, but you got to have that escape, like journaling, working out, running. I know some people like to go on walks or whatever it is for you, just find that escape, but just also understand when you're done escaping from whatever it is, that problem is still going to be there, but it's just giving you a time to attack it a different way.
Right. Yeah, no, you got to be able to put some thought behind it. It's all because we all know that hindsight. You know what I'm saying? So giving yourself the ability to put that additional thought on it and that subconscious thought on it that you ain't even aware of that might make something click for you for how to address it. Because I realize a lot that if you act immediately. Mm-hmm. It's very your chance for error is high. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody spit in your face, your immediate reaction is murder. You know what I'm saying? Like you want to not do
murder.
Because you immediately think, oh, you gotta go, and you don't think my family gonna need me. My blah blah blah. My blah blah blah. This is about to. You know what I'm saying? So you have to, like, whatever is going on, you gotta be able to have that opportunity to step back and say, okay, wait. How do I actually handle this? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. What is the correct way to approach this situation that's going to be best for not just me, but for the people who care about me, for the people who, whatever is going on, you got to always remember, especially in our situations. Like we say, provide, protect, and be there. Like we always have to think before we act, before we react with everything. Because there's consequences to whatever it is that we ultimately decide to do.
Because for real, there's a lot of people, a lot of good people in jail because they got mad on one day and they reacted without thinking.
For sure.
Yeah.
They say that some of the best behaved people in prison are people that murdered someone, but it was a crime of passion where they got upset about something, they reacted.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important for us to be aware of our feelings and emotions. We don't pin stuff up. We don't push things. We don't just try to continue to push past and not express and deal with what we feel. And I think it was important for us to have this conversation about being vulnerable because we all are vulnerable at some point in time. But if we keep pushing things, only having discussions about sports, only having discussions about women, money, or other superficial things, we really don't get to the core of our issues. In this next part of our discussion, I would like to look more at emotions and explore how they impact us. So what we're going to do, we're going to have a discussion about more difficult emotions and how they make us feel, how they make us think, and how can we learn to respond to them. Because if you don't know, number one, what you are feeling, you won't be able to respond to it correctly. Listen, y'all, hope y'all been enjoying this discussion. It's on Bruh, Let's Talk Feelings. Tune in next time for a continuation of this discussion where we will look more at difficult emotions. Talk to you soon.